Go ahead.
Okay, great. Sorry. Thank you guys. I think we just went live, so thank you everyone who's attending the Environmental Sustainability Task Force for the City of Providence. I'm Sue Anderbois. I am the current chair, and I'm really grateful to see we have so many great attendees and task force members. Good to see you all. We're going a little out of order with the agenda. We're going to do our executive session last so we can maximize the fact that we have people here who are not task force members. But I think we have to start with a roll call. So can we please have a roll call, please?
Chairwoman Anderbois?
I'm here.
Vice Chairman Drix?
Here.
Ms. Van Amberg?
Present.
Mr. Garcia Quijano?
I'm here.
Mr. Purdy? Is absent. Ms. Rose?
Here.
Mr. Kumba?
Here.
Mr. Holguin?
I imagine they'll join a little late because they just got sent their link.
All right, so we have 6 present and 2 absent. We have a quorum.
Great. Terrific. Well, let's dive right in. Let's start with, so for task force members, you all saw a memo from the city about the plastic bag implementation. And Leah or Emily, would you be willing to just speak to that a little bit to start off?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to turn it over to Emily if that's all right.
Sure. Hi. So the Office of Sustainability wanted to discuss the allowable exemption period for Providence's retail plastic bag ban. As the memo outlined, we've interpreted the ordinance as not allowing exemptions beyond October 22nd, 2020, 1 year after the ban went into effect. There's a distinction between the reasoning for exemptions being excess inventory and no reasonable alternative. The vast majority of the requests, in total, we've had 107 exemption requests. So the vast majority of them have been approved to allow retailers to utilize their excess inventory. That's significant because of the 3 that have been approved past the date of October 22nd, 2020, they have all been classified as no reasonable alternative. And so I highlighted those 3 specialty stores that are the only cases of being granted dates past 10/22/20. So we wanted to bring this to your attention. Our recommendation, and in continuing with how we've interpreted the ordinance, is to not issue exemptions on the basis of excess inventory past October 22nd, 2020. But for those handful of specialty retailers, which is 3 thus far, that have been approved due to no reasonable alternative, to allow exemptions to continue to be granted on an ongoing basis.
Thank you, Emily. And Sean and Donna, I'll make sure I send you the memo that the Office of Sustainability sent to us, unless Leah, you already have. No,
No,
okay.
I haven't. I was just going to add that, we're really looking for all of your thoughts on interpretation of that particular clause. And I think one of the things that informed our recommendation is the fact that a lot of the, one, we've gotten a few additional exemption requests in the past couple of months of retailers who have said, explain how they haven't been able to draw down their inventory as quickly as they thought they would due to COVID. And so they've been asking for extensions. Some of them have asked for extensions beyond October 22nd. And then the second piece that is informing our decision to essentially not allow exemptions for excess inventory beyond October 22nd is just the fact that a lot of what we've heard from retailers is that they're looking for consistency. Many retailers have made the switch, whether they've planned ahead or whatnot, we're prepared to make that switch. And they express frustration with, the store across the street or down the street that is still providing paper or plastic bags. So it causes confusion. It certainly makes enforcement and outreach more challenging, where we get complaints from stores that actually are exempt for a period of time. So we feel that a year after the law went into effect is an appropriate timeline to just say, we're done. If you have excess inventory, figure out something else to do with it. But you won't be allowed to use that for retail checkout bags anymore.
Thanks, Leah. Does anyone on the task force have any comments or thoughts?
Just to me, that sounds very reasonable to not allow for continuing the extension, and just in terms of like the fairness and leveling the fields for all the businesses.
Vadik, you took yourself off mute. Do you have a?
Yeah, I just had a question. I guess, were there more people that like asked for exemptions after like the pandemic and quarantine hit?
Sure. So since April, as we've seen the impact of COVID-19, we received 5 requests from retailers for extensions on existing exemptions. 2 of those 5 were for dates past October 22nd. So essentially 3 of them were fully approved to the date that they asked for, and 2 of them were somewhat limited but partially approved until October 22nd. Yeah, does that answer?
Yeah, that answers the question. I just feel like I was seeing certain spaces that were using paper before, and then they were using plastic. So I feel like Urban Greens was one of them, and there might have been another retailer that I was just experiencing that.
Yeah.
So I just was asking.
Leah, do you want to speak to that? I know you had a conversation about.
Sure. Yeah, I actually was seeing that, and retailers were saying that they were having supply issues. They just weren't able to get paper bags. And I actually reached out to a local supplier. This was in March, and they said that's absolutely the case. And it's less to do with COVID, although it was likely compounded by that, and more to do with New York State's plastic bag ban going into effect in March. So that increased the demand, and I think there was just a lag period. So hopefully that has been smoothed out.
And is there I guess here in Rhode Island, is there any, I know in Massachusetts, you weren't allowed to bring your own bag into the retailer. Is there such a like law here in Rhode Island?
Because of COVID?
No, there's not.
No.
There has not been, and we included a statement kind of related to COVID, the fact that the policy was still in place and recommendations for paper and washing reusable bags if people decide to continue to use the reusable bags.
I also just want to acknowledge that Jesus has joined us as well. Thank you, Jesus. Jesus, we're going a little out of order, so we're starting with the plastic bag conversation.
Hey, y'all.
Welcome.
Hey, welcome.
I just want to add too that I think this makes a lot of sense, and it seems like there have been kind of not just in Rhode Island, but across the country and across the region, a renewed push from folks who manufacture plastic bags and kind of that industry to push back against these laws because of COVID, and without real justification, and it feels like preying on people's fears. And so I'm glad to see that Providence is sticking with it and continuing to move forward.
That also doesn't make any sense to me, because the only thing, and this is just offhand, but like COVID lasts longer on plastic and not on paper. Like so it's kind of like the opposite.
Any other task force members have any comments? No pressure. Cool. Leah and Emily, did you want us to vote to recommend that this be the process? I know that had been, okay, yes. Sorry, I didn't actually have a complete sentence, I'm sorry. There had been an interest in, because the task force, one of the duties laid out for the task force around the plastic bag ordinance is to, hear when there are exemptions or hear when there's cases, and in this case here about not granting exemptions past the October 22nd date. There's interest from the office for us to vote to approve this memo and this recommendation to not grant any additional exemptions past October 22nd, except for those extraneous circumstances like the 3 stores Emily mentioned where there's no alternative. So would someone be willing to make that motion that we support that? Is silence that no one wants to do it, or silence that nobody wants to go first?
I'm trying
Okay.
how to say it. So I guess I make a motion that we do what Sue just said. We don't allow any exemptions, any continuations after the October 22nd, 2020 date for the plastic bag ban.
I second it.
I third it.
Is that appropriate, Emily and Leah? Is that what would be most helpful? Any changes to what we just said?
I was just going to say specific to excess inventory would be the most clear.
Okay. So the motion is to not allow exemptions past the October 22nd date for excess inventory. Motion from Amelia, seconded by Carlos. All in favor, can you say aye and raise your hand up so we can physically see it?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Anybody abstaining? It didn't look like it. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
I didn't see
Thank
any raise,
you.
but I also didn't know if how public comment works, if you ask for each item or if there's public comment at the end.
Cool. Yeah, no, great point. Now that we've actually already voted on it, are there members of the are there members of the public who or Councilwoman Anthony who wish to comment on that? And please use the hand raise function. So if you go to participants, you should see there's the option for you to click raise hand, and then we can see your hand raise. Councilwoman Anthony, Sean, can you please unmute Councilwoman Anthony?
I would just like to say, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for all your service. I'm so appreciative of all the good work you're doing. But I think that's, if you're asking me about the extension beyond October 22nd, I think that's very reasonable. I guess I would just, I'm not, Councilwoman Ryan was the proponent and supporter and brought this forward. We were all voted in favor. I'm not sure if you've checked in with her to see what she thinks, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I think we've given them plenty of opportunity to do what they need to do. And I think October 22nd is quite reasonable.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman. We do plan as the next step to run this by the mayor's office and the rest of the city council and have this conversation, but we wanted to get the ESDS recommendation and make sure we were aligned in recommending something to the mayor and the council that had support from the task force.
Great. Any other comments from the public, or Councilwoman Anthony, were you going to say something else?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm all set with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing no or seeing no other hands raised, we're going to go further out of order and take the Ecru update real quick, because I know Priscilla De La Cruz, the president of Ecru, needs to pop out a little early. So Priscilla, I see you're still there. Sean, would you be able to unmute her to provide the Ecru update? I think you unmuted Susanna.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now.
Yeah, you're unmuted. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. Good to see your faces. So my updates are very brief on behalf of the Environment Council of Rhode Island. So right now we are pretty much on our summer break. We don't convene over the summer with the exception of our executive committee. So Ecru's executive committee made a Black Lives Matter statement, of course, expressing our support, but more to hold Ecru accountable as a whole. So the statement really calls out undoing racist practices within our own work and the work of our members and the responsibility that we have to do that. So that was sent out to our membership on behalf of the executive committee. It lives on our website. And one of the things that we'll be doing over the summer is starting to sort of plan for our strategic planning process that will start in September, and really ensuring that that process centers equity and justice principles, and also really getting directly at identifying racist practices within our work and really challenging the status quo. So I'm not quite sure what that process will look like, but I thought it would just be important to share that with you all. And come September, I'll have a better idea of what that process will entail. But that's the work that we're doing now, just pretty much planning for that.
Great. Thank you, Priscilla. Does anyone have any questions for her? Or comments? Cool. Thank you, Priscilla. I know you have to go early, so thank you for providing the update. And also, please let us know how we can be helpful with the strategic plan.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Perfect timing. I'll hop off the call now. Take care, everyone. Stay healthy.
Thank you. Awesome. So let's pop back over to the agenda item of updates from the Office of Sustainability.
Thank you. I'll try to keep it really brief. One of the things that we're working to move forward right now is community choice aggregation. We did some surveys. We had a lot of information out about with the goal of developing the plan and getting feedback for our plan. We got some great feedback. We got almost 100 survey responses during a very challenging time to do engagement nonetheless. And I think what made that successful is that we were able to basically hire community ambassadors to not only help create the content, but also to get the word out.
Is that just me?
No, she's popping back on. Her audio kicked out.
Sorry, my
There we go.
phone somehow, for some reason, dropped the call. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you.
So we hope the next steps for that plan are to hold a public hearing. So we are hopefully briefing the council soon, and we'll get a public hearing scheduled. They have to post the plan, and then there's I believe it's about a 2-week period for the public hearing once it's posted to when the hearing can happen. And then we need a resolution from the city council to approve the plan. We hope, fingers crossed. I know there's a lot going on the council's agenda right now, but we hope that we can have that resolution passed by August. And the reason for the rush is just that we then need to get the plan to the PUC for their approval. And we hope to get approval in the fall so we can be ready to actually go out to bid and procure the electricity in the like December or January. That's the best time of the year to buy electricity. Apparently it's like when it's a semi-annual sale or whatever. But it is the cheapest time of the year, so we'll get the best rate. So that's our goal. So keep an eye out. I'll let everyone know as soon as that's ready. But most of the plan is very, very formulaic. A lot of it is just stuff that has to be in there for the PUC. Although we are really trying to push and what we can do through this program to work towards energy democracy. Another update, we, as of today, achieved an important milestone in the climate justice plan. Welcome, Jesus, to the ESTF. We now have 2 REJC members.
Yay!
We're very excited about that. So that's really welcome, Jesus. Glad you can be here. And then I think the only other update, I just want to talk a little bit about our office and how we've been affected by some of the work share, the furlough program. So we have been, our staff capacity has been reduced. I am working 4 days a week, and Emily and Court are both working 3 days a week. So we're trying our best to really keep everything going and be as efficient as possible with that time. But it is a challenge. Hopefully it will be just through the summer. But I think so much of the city's finances right now are dependent on what happens with the federal stimulus and how that money can support both state and local government. So fingers crossed. Seems like a silly way to have to action to take, but given the significance of that. But yeah, we are, doing the best we can to keep things going. The council and the mayor's office are still, my understanding is they'll be finalizing the spending portion of the budget in the next, over the summer, essentially, because so much of it rests on what happens with the federal government. And it's going to be a challenging budget year, as will FY22, because the thought is FY22 will be more challenging because of a lack of stimulus, or the stimulus will be at least reduced. So, but I will pause there. Councilwoman Anthony, I don't know if you're certainly kind of on the front lines of those conversations. So if you had anything to add, feel free to jump in. But yeah, I think that's really it. I think the other major project right now is the Green Justice Zones. We're moving ahead on that. I don't know, Vadik, if you wanted to provide an update there, I'd be happy to turn it over to you as well.
No, thank you. You're doing great.
All right. So we're moving forward on identifying projects for investments in the 2 Green Justice Zones in Olneyville and South Providence. We have the REJC is leading the outreach on that and doing that engagement. We have some great concepts in the works, and we are very fortunate that our deadline was extended. So we have now through August to really solidify what those projects look like. And I believe the REJC will be sending out a survey in the next week or so.
I don't mind adding a little. Am I unmuted?
Please. Yeah, you're unmuted. Thank you, Councilman
Anthony. To the budget talks, I think, Leah's done an incredible job with a very, very small staff. I really believe, even though this is a difficult time in the economy, that we have to devote the necessary resources to the work that Leah and the committee are doing. And so I know there's there seems to be a movement afoot, not only, from me, but others who are getting very, very active in terms of climate and during this time of protest and the whole 9 yards, that I think we're gaining a little momentum. So I'm feeling somewhat energized and a little more positive about, at least maintaining the funding that Leah has currently, because her department is within the crosshairs of some of the cuts that the council's looking at, I think, and that's often the case. And I think we have a good chance of fighting that this year. So I feel encouraged, and we cannot fight this fight unless Leah's got an appropriate staff. So it's got to be a priority for the city.
Julian, please.
Good. Thank you for that update, Councilwoman Anthony. Just wanted to share on a somewhat related note, related to budget and funding piece, that I was glad to be one of the people, as an individual resident, testifying on Monday night in support of defunding the police, which I think is related in a number of ways, not just in terms of the types of structural racism that we need to undo in order to create a livable future, but also in terms of the specific budget conversation around, in this time, because of COVID and because of all these other reasons where there's tremendous budget shortfalls, that we, as a city and as people in general, need to be prioritizing things that promote the health and well-being of communities, work like the Green Justice Zones and the Office of Sustainability. And so I'm glad to hear that there are council people looking at that carefully and kind of looking for creative ways instead of the kind of status quo of always kind of cutting the most important things for community and preserving other areas of government, that we're looking at cutting back on things that are doing harm in order to support things that promote well-being.
Thank you.
I want to pile on and really just thank Leah, Emily, Councilwoman Anthony for all of your really hard work. I mean, the work you're doing is obviously so vital and essential to the city, and it's also a shining light in other places who are looking to the example you're setting about how you're centering racial equity in your climate change work. And I know people across at least our region are looking at that and trying to figure out how to emulate what you're doing, and for us to kind of for the city to not fully support the work that you're doing financially would be in my mind, the equivalent of how we stopped funding the pandemic task force at the federal level, and then, oops, look what happened. So however I can be helpful, or let's put our heads together about how we can best advocate for the continuance of your really great work. Do other task force members have any thoughts or comments? And thank you, Councilwoman Anthony, for all of your leadership on environmental and sustainability related issues. Other task force members? Oh, or Emily. Emily, jump in. Yeah.
I wanted to give a chance for the task force members to thank you all. This is a thought from earlier. I just wanted to highlight. I wish you all could meet her in person, but we have an intern, Ellie Madsen, for the summer, who provided the infographics on the plastic bag exemption request that Steve sent around. So just wanted to acknowledge her work and that added capacity for the summer, which is very, very welcome.
Thanks, Emily. Thank you, Ellie. And if to the point earlier about if there are ways we can be helpful, Councilwoman Anthony, if there are things that this task force could or should be doing, I won't put you on the spot now unless you want to be on the spot, but would love to hear any thoughts about how we can be best advocating in whatever processes are existing, or who else we can be reaching out to.
I appreciate that. I'll give that some thought. Leah's done, as I said, we're trying to get this, the plan for the aggregation through the municipal aggregation, which is so important. And I think people are very supportive of that. We need to work on the benchmarking ordinance, which I'm sure Leah's spoken about, because she's done a lot of really good work on that, and we seem to have an appetite to get that through. Right now, the only concern is, we need to have the appropriate staff to make sure that we can, I know how much staff it took to do the plastic ban, plastic bag ban. It's going to be a lot of staff, I think, that might be required if we get the benchmarking ordinance through, which should be a no-brainer, but isn't. It's kind of a little fight that's going on. So, I will certainly think about what it is that the committee can do. You're already doing a wonderful job. You're setting the plans in place, and I'm so appreciative, because we need to move forward on these issues.
Great. Thank you, Councilwoman. Are there other questions or thoughts about this or any of the updates that Leah and Emily provided? Cool. Seeing none. Also, feel free to either just unmute yourself if you're a task force member, or raise your hand. And then let's move to our final pre-executive session topic, which was both the next meeting and also updates around the table. So the quick thing I'll say about next meeting, everybody on the task force should have a calendar invitation to that. And Jesus, I'll make sure that you have it. I had an old email address for you when I sent the calendar invite, so I'll make sure that you have the updated date, and I'll make sure you have that on your calendar.
Do you have my RAJC email?
Yes. So is that the one I should use?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then when we go into executive session in a little bit, we'll be discussing the potential for new members. And then Julian and I talked about in July, because now I'll be hopefully at full membership. Sorry for my enthusiasm. We could talk a little bit about, spend a little bit of time on ESTF structure and thinking about term limits, and feel free to jump in anytime, Julian, but making sure that folks know kind of a little bit more about the ESTF. And we had some of these conversations about standard operating procedures a year ago. And we've had so much amazing turnover in our task force membership in that last year. And so we wanted to make sure that everybody contributed to that conversation and felt really good about how the ESTF operates and contributes. We also thought another agenda item for our July meeting could be around the street closures, or the street partial closures that have taken place during COVID, and kind of what that means for thinking about. I know we had Liza come speak with us a little bit ago, I think our last in-person meeting, about great streets and walkable cities, and different levels of mobility, and the city's been doing the reduction in transportation, in car transportation on some streets, and would love to hear. We thought it would be interesting to hear kind of how that's going and think about, how do some of those things continue on after COVID, and how do we continue to move our city toward, more walkability and better transit that's not just car focused. Julian, am I capturing that? Cool. And then this is like, we're on this task force. You all are on this task force to like represent the places you live and the people you interact with. So also wanted to make sure that if you have ideas or thoughts on what we should be covering in these meetings, that we keep that space open. So thought we could kind of go around the table to talk about any updates you might have that you want to bring up, and also other topics you'd like to be considered for future meetings. So since we can't literally go around a table, I'm just gonna call your names. And if you have something you'd like to contribute, take yourself off mute and contribute. And if you don't, that's fine too. So I'll start with Catherine because you're first on my screen.
That's funny, you're first on my screen. All right, so nothing right now, but if there is something that I want to put on a future agenda, is that something that I can email to you and you'll put it on a future agenda? Okay, great.
Yeah. Julian, you're next to my screen. This is totally random based on who's on my screen. There's no preferential anything.
Yeah, there's a couple of things on my mind. So I think one thing I know, just think about conversations we've had at previous meetings and any kind of updates that have happened from that, just to keep on our radar as well. One was around, I just wanted to acknowledge and kind of celebrate, I think it was after our last meetings, or I missed the last meeting, but the victory in terms of stopping the waste transfer station on Allen's Ave, and just the gratefulness to all the frontline community members that really led that charge. I don't know if that was discussed. I know I missed the last meeting, and that was also, I think it was the same week that the pandemic hit hit Rhode Island starting then. So I've been in COVID world since then. But just wanted to acknowledge that and just kind of state that I think there is still kind of on the policy level work that we should be keeping our eye on in terms of, that was prevented almost based on because of the pressure from frontline community members and supporters from around other areas. A technicality was found that it probably would never have even been flagged and it would have gone through otherwise, but that technicality wouldn't prevent other types of polluting industries there. And so I just want to make sure that the attention is still on longer term policy plans. And I know the green justice zones are paying attention to that closely. And so I just want to make sure that we're keeping that on our radar in the future in terms of what this task force can do to support green justice zones and environmental justice, especially around the port. Wanted to just put the reminder out there to whether it's in the port area or other areas, anytime that people are observing, bad smells, fires, industrial things that you don't think should be happening, to call those into DEM. Complaints to DEM are very, very important in terms of having some kind of record that they can then use. There was a settlement, a multi-state settlement from the EPA against Sprague for those noxious asphalt odors near the hospital. Rhode Island isn't getting very much from it. There's some settlement money that's going to Massachusetts and some other areas, and they're supposedly supposed to be limiting the amount of asphalt they bring in there. But it is, the limits are set so high that it really won't make much of a difference. And there have been a number of smells, not just from Sprague, but I think the further south in the port area has been particularly bad recently. So I think there's a lot to just continue to call those in and let people know to call DEM compliance and enforcement for anything you notice in terms of toxic risks in community. And then one last thing I just wanted to share as not so much of an update, but just frustrations around is, I know in the past we've talked about jump bikes and wondering when that was going to be coming back. And I've just been following the news and the articles around, the company being bought by Lyft and basically being dismantled. And there was an article just this week that I saw in Vice that just wanted to mention that was really frustrating in terms of, the literal garbage and, scrapping and, given all the scrap metal along the port area there, seeing these bikes just getting destroyed. And it just made me pretty mad, especially given how much negative media attention was given to youth in Providence. for quote unquote property destruction for, after Uber jacked the prices up and all of that, and the criminalization of youth of color that came along with that. And then to see the company just literally destroying those bikes, and like that's property destruction right there. And that should be criminalized. So anyway, if there's going to be criminalization, then let's focus on the company. So just wanted to say that in the record and pass it along. That's my update.
Thanks, Julian. Vadik, you're next on the screen.
Cool. Thank you, everybody. I've been thinking a lot about, I guess, like how to tie it all together. Like we're having this conversation about like a future world, and like Julian talking about like the speech that he gave around 2 minutes among 9 hours of people talking about imagining another world outside of policing. And so I'm just thinking about there's like this activist online that I follow, and she like made this post where it was like listing out the different like people and how they were a cop. So it's like the mayor's like the top cop, you know what I'm saying? And like I'm thinking about the task force, and like environmental sustainability is like the environment cop kind of, you know what I'm saying? In a way, it's like we just talked about plastic bags, and that's an authority to say whether or not you can do this or you're going to get fined, right? So just thinking about within our work, like I know we have like the the framework, but there are these cities that have like have resolutions or whatever that racism is a public health nuisance or whatever, like crisis. So I think about, is there a way that we could do research into environmental racism and like really qualifying that? And then also like looking into like, as money is being reallocated into these different things, how the ethos, like how enforcement can work in a restorative or transformative way with whatever the things are, where it's an environmental thing, right? So like environmental enforcement. So like having a conversation around that and building some sort of structure where we could do work into that, I think would be very much in line with what we're doing with REJC and like really what I'm doing personally, you know what I'm saying, in that work. So that's something I'm thinking about.
Thank you, Vadik. That's really important. Next on my screen is Carlos.
Okay. Yeah, so well, what I have to share is so banal compared to all the other important stuff that people have been mentioning, that I almost feel like not saying it.
Say it.
Yeah. No, but one of my master students, she is finalizing a survey about that we're going to use to look at Rhode Islanders, more specifically urban Rhode Islanders, interactions with urban carnivores like coyotes and foxes, bears, so on and so forth. And I think this is a really important baseline to see how those animals are doing, how people are interacting with them, and like identify wildlife-human conflicts, which is important. But so at some point soon, I'm going to start calling on people to help me disseminate this survey. It's going to be an online survey, and we're dealing with the sampling, issues right now. But at some point soon, I'm going to be calling on all of us to try to disseminate it and have people answer it and see what's going on.
Please do.
Are there like coyotes and stuff in Providence?
Yeah. Oh yeah. If there are.
Have they migrated out? I don't know. There's still.
Oh no, Providence is full of coyotes, and we've been observing them, and some of my colleagues following them, and foxes. But yeah, coyotes are. It's just that they're really good at hiding and avoiding people. So.
I saw a fox in my neighborhood.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mount Pleasant and now I'm in Elmhurst. I moved a little bit away. We have foxes and coyotes all over. They haven't mapped it out.
They're chasing the bunnies? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah.
Are they chasing people's pets?
What?
Are they chasing people's like cats and stuff?
Killings and like they have chased small dogs, and there's that's one of the dimensions of the conflict that we want to assess, to manage it, to see what's going on. But yeah, I mean it's a very beginning phases thing, but my students are working on it. So
Cool. Thanks, Carlos. Yeah, please let us know as that progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, I wanna enroll all of us in trying to get that out to as many people as possible. Because
Well,
okay.
Thanks. Next on my screen is Jesus, and echoing Leah, welcome, Jesus. You've been coming to the meetings, but this is your first official meeting, having been approved by the mayor. So, what do you all on you?
Hey y'all. I feel like I'm still here, and also I feel like my initiation was a little different than everybody else's. The first like Zoom call initiation, and that was fun. Very intimate.
And no pressure.
But as towards the questions, it feels nice to be able to vote on stuff. And as for the question, like echoing a lot of the stuff that Julian and Vadik said, like really trying to get like on the ground on how like things are being like what folks are being impacted on the ground with, and making sure that our work is impacting that. And like and I also see environmental justice as the place of intersection for a lot of social justice, because everyone needs their world to survive, and policing is one of those things. Like it's a social deter. I don't know the way it is, but it's a it bothers people. It bothers me, and policing on whether it's identity or gender or sexuality or just color of skin, like folks shouldn't have that in their environment to like create holistically safe spaces. Like that's part of like, I don't know, your environment. So like I would love to see us talk more about that. I'm done.
Cool. Thanks, Jesus. And last but certainly not least, Amelia.
Sorry, I'm fielding some children.
Oh.
Questions. Okay, they want graham crackers, so I'm gonna go get those. But one thing I know, can you guys be quiet for 1 minute, please? One thing I was just thinking about is normally we write a letter. Shh. Come here. I'm gonna show you. Look, so they know I'm not lying.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
And there's Willa. She doesn't want to be left out. So one thing I was thinking about with the budget question that we were just talking about is whether we should, letters are only worth so much, but whether we should be writing a letter in supporting the Office of Sustainability, if that would be a useful, I don't know if folks have talked about that already. And then the other thing I was thinking about, just to go back to the plastic bag issue, it's so few businesses that are asking for the extension, even though I was the one who originally said that I totally support what we voted on. There's so few businesses, it might be worth, I don't know if we can individualize it anymore and just if there's any specific business that is a business that needs more support. Julian knows what I'm talking about here. Okay, I'm gonna put you down. If there's any specific individual business that needs like some additional hand-holding or something, where the office could provide some additional assistance or like an incentive, because what if they do have like a lot of excess stock of something? So anyways, just wanted to bring that back up in case the Office of Sustainability has any thoughts about that.
Yeah, that's a great comment, Amelia, and we can think about that. Emily, we'll think about how we could offer assistance. I don't know what that would look like in the fall, but perhaps not in the way of exempting them, but providing them additional support to help them make the switch.
And one idea that we just haven't had the capacity and then it kind of fell off due to COVID was facilitating like a larger bulk purchase because of paper bags or reusable bags. But we just haven't had the capacity to explore as a potential resource.
Cool.
That graphic that has the city with all the little markers for where the exemptions are, is there a way that we could know what those businesses are? Because there's a couple in my neighborhood that I would be happy to, be a point person for or just go talk to about it.
Yeah, so I believe that we can send the link of the interactive map. And so far, I believe that map is all of the exemption requests, most of which have expired at this point. So you'd have to cross-reference it with the active exemption list as well.
We can share this, I think we have a spreadsheet or something, right, Emily, of when the active exemption.
Yeah.
We can share.
That'd be great. Thank you. Go
on
ahead,
the
Julie.
budget thing, with Amelia's question around that, has the Office of Sustainability's budget hearing happened yet, or is it still upcoming? And do you need, whether it's letter or kind of people to show up and voice support during that?
Our hearing has happened, and I don't believe there will be another hearing, or like finance committee meeting with our office on the agenda for the budget. But I think a letter would be, and it looks like Helen might have something to add.
Yeah, Helen, if you have something to add, please jump in.
Yeah, I think, so there's going to be, I guess, to everyone on the committee, I think there'll certainly be another public hearing on the expenditure portion of the budget, and that's going to be massive when you think about it. There's a lot of people looking for a change in how the money is being spent. So I'm hoping that you don't get lost in that because, the question right now is, we see the leadership team, I'm saying Chairman Igliozzi, talking about taking money not from the police, but from other sources to fund some of these fabulous ideas he has on how he's going to solve this whole problem. I'm already asking, where are you proposing to take those funds from? That is just not at all what people are asking for. And so I think we have to pay really, really close attention to what maneuverings are going on in terms of where that money is coming from. So, making it worse, more money should be allocated to all these other things. And instead, he's now talking about taking that money and solving all our problems. He's just not getting it. And so I think you could be really helpful to focus, on all the issues you're focusing on, but just remember that Leah and her department need to be funded to get this work done. And so we can't lose track of that during what's going to happen going forward. So in other words, there are going to be public hearings, and I think that could be a time where we can talk about supporting you. This particular piece of the budget.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Maybe we could work on also drafting a letter in between and share in between this and after tonight and share that around. And I can do an initial draft. And really, I'll try and incorporate, Vadik, your comments about the Office of Sustainability kind of being like the environmental police, it seems like, of okay, as we're shifting things around, this is where we shift it to. I don't know, but please, I'll put some initial pen to paper, but would really welcome all of your very strong edits.
Yeah, I don't want to call them police.
Yeah, I don't want to call them police.
We'll
yeah. I don't want to use that word, but I want to get your sentiment in there.
Defund the police to save the environment.
Yeah. Cool. Realizing it's after 5, but we still need to talk about our new ESTF members, and also knowing that there's another public meeting at 5:30, so we should wrap up a little bit before that for the so that clerks can breathe. Why don't we switch over to discussing the new members that we that you all hopefully have thought about. Sean, do we need to vote to go into executive session, or do we just need to end this meeting? What do we need to do?
Yes, we need you to ask for a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-4 and Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A1 and A4. And you could just say.
Can I have a motion to do that?
I make a motion to go into executive session based on the specific statutes and laws that Chief Clerk Sean Selleck just listed for us.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Nice. All in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Wait.
We do need a roll call vote, and just to amend that, that the discussion, that it's for a discussion and vote relative to recommending new members of the ESDF to the mayor and city council. That's why you want to go into that executive session.
So amending my motion that it is specific to a discussion about potential new members to add for recommendations to give to the mayor and city council to add new members to the Sustainability Task Force.
Amending my second.
And do we need you said we need a roll call vote, Sean? Great. Can we please have the roll call?
Does everyone have the other link? Sorry to interrupt. I don't.
So right now,
I do.
Catherine should have. So right now, this is at the discretion of the chair who's joining the executive session. It has automatically been sent to the appointed members of the SDF. If the chair wishes that other people present on this meeting be added to that invitation list, then the chair needs to only state that now.
Yeah, can you
join?
If you would like to, Emily and Leah, would you like to join? No pressure. Maybe
I'm happy to be there.
Yeah. Can you please send them the link so they have the option to join, but don't feel pressure if you need to go. I know you guys are working under a reduced schedule.
Yep, I will send that right out to them. And Catherine, can you double check that you have it?
Can I ask, did it go to an email that ends in Brown or an email that ends in Gmail?
I think Brown. Hold on. Sorry.
Sean, I like how you just like move across screens. Yeah.
Yes, it's the Brown.
Okay, I apologize. I can't find it. Could you send it again to me?
Sure, it would have just arrived, but I will just edit this. Yeah.
Cool.
I'll let Donna take the roll call, and then we can work out any other logistics that we need.
Cool. Thank you.
Chairwoman Anderbois,
Here. Yeah. Yes.
Vice Chairman Drix,
Yes.
Van Amberg,
Yes, here.
Mr. Garcia Quijano,
Carlos, are you still here? Oh, Carlos fell off. Okay.
Mr. Purdy, Ms. absent, Ms. Rose,
Yes.
Mr. Kumba,
Yes.
and Mr. Holwin.
Yes.
We're in executive session.
Okay, so we're gonna pause this one moment.
So do we click on the link to go to the other?
Yeah, so the only issue right now, we're still on YouTube Live, so everything that's being said right now, even though we've paused our recording, is still being recorded on YouTube Live because I can't pause that. But Catherine, I think there was an issue with your email address also because it wasn't, the email we had for you was written out Catherine, and now I see that in the list it actually has Kate dot, right? It should be Kate dot.
For the Gmail address, yeah.
The Gmail, okay.
This is my fault for having 3 email addresses.
Oh, sorry. So I just resent it to that one too. So you should have it in both, hopefully. And if you can't join, then please respond, like if email me or email Sue, and we'll meet you on the other side. But this is going to be really crunch time. So
Yeah.
that's actually what I'm asking everybody to do is everyone who's a member that's joining us to please just leave this meeting and join the other meeting, and I'll see you on the other side.
Cool.
Okay?
Thank you.
So where am I getting a link from?
Hey, Susan, we sent that to the email address, the same one. The Youth Pride RI. If you don't mind stating your email out loud, anyone who's watching this would have your email address. So can you?
Jesus at rejc41.com.
Jesus at
rejc401.com.
rejc401.com. rejc401.com. Okay.
Looks Susanna is raising her hand.
Cool.
Hi, everyone. I'm just curious to know if I should participate in this meeting as I am considered a candidate to join the team, or the task force, rather.
My understanding is it's executive session, so for the ESDF to discuss is closed, right? So we didn't properly say goodbye to the public. Thank you for joining.
People can stay on. People can stay on, and because we will return to regular session to close the meeting. So.
Oh, okay.
Great, thanks. So I'm supposed to leave this meeting to join the other one, because for the other one, I do not.
So the other one is only for the task force members.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. And so we put it at the end so that members of the public don't have to stick around for no one in the meeting.
Awesome. So should I stay here or?
You don't need to. What will happen is the task force members will technically come back to close the meeting, but there won't be any substantive discussion.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
And we're back.
Hello again.
Hello. Catherine, it looks like you're in as an attendee, but Sean can probably just take you off mute.
Oh, wow. Please wait while coming.
What'd you say?
No, I was
Jesus?
just reading what it said on the screen.
Oh.
Yeah, I have like all the safeguards on this. I was just gonna try to annotate and I couldn't.
Okay, everybody. Do you have the chair would like to ask? Oh, I guess are we waiting for a few more people?
No, I think Catherine accidentally is an attendee, so if you could just take her off mute, I think that she
great.
can participate.
Yep.
Whoa, look at that.
Okay, cool. And Leah and Emily are not joining us because they're not needed for this. And so can we please, do I say exit executive session?
Have a motion. Ask for a motion.
Oh, can I have a motion?
Motion to exit the executive session.
Can we have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Cool. Do we need to do a roll call, Sean?
Yes, you do need to do a roll call for that.
Chairwoman Anderbois,
Here.
Vice Chairman Drix,
Here.
And Donna, can you use people's first names instead of Mr. and Ms. Because we didn't go over pronouns at the beginning, and I don't want anyone to be misgendered.
Catherine Van Amber,
So just say
Present.
Carlos Garcia Quijano, Kevin Purdy, absent Amelia Rose,
Here.
Vanna Kumba,
Here.
and Jesus Holguin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're out of executive session.
And now you need a motion just to seal the minutes of the executive session.
Can I have a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session, please? Come on, guys.
Make a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session.
Can I second that? Nice, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Great.
And now you
And-
can have a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Can I have a motion to it? Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, so moved. Second.
Yes.
Jesus seconded. Any all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Great. Have a good night, you guys. Thank you so much, Sean. I hope you have enough time for a short break. Bye.
Thank you.
Aye.